The origin from chaos, the birth of the first gods. In the beginning, nothing existed but the primordial waters of chaos. No sky, no earth, no light, only boundless darkness and formless water. And yet, from this void, a being rose by his own power, Atum. From himself, he created the first gods and thus laid the foundation for one of the most fascinating mythologies in human history. How could divine order arise from chaos? And why did the ancient Egyptians believe that their entire kingship descended directly from these first gods? This story does not begin with humans. It begins with gods, with betrayal, with death, and with the hope for immortality. Part 1, the Ennead and the first divine betrayal. As Atum rose from the primordial waters, creation began to take its course. By his own power, he brought forth two children, Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of moisture. This first divine couple, in turn, fathered two more powers, Geb, the earth, and Nut, the sky. From their union, 4 children finally emerged: Osiris, Isis, Seth, and Nephthys. Together they formed the 9 primordial gods known as the Ennead, representing the foundation of the Egyptian pantheon. Osiris married his sister Isis, and together they ruled over Egypt in a time of unprecedented peace and prosperity. But harmony breeds envy. Their brother Seth craved the throne for himself. Driven by jealousy, he murdered Osiris, dismembered his body, and scattered the parts across the entire land. Isis, however, did not give up. Tirelessly, she searched for her husband's remains. With the help of her sister Nephthys, she finally succeeded in finding the pieces. Thoth, the god of wisdom, and Anubis, the god of embalming, helped her reassemble Osiris. Thus, the first mummy was created. Through this restoration, Osiris was brought back to life once more and conceived a son with Isis. But his power was not enough to remain in the world of the living. He withdrew into the realm of the dead, the Duat, and became the ruler of the afterlife there. Seth, however, now ascended the throne of Egypt. Part 2, the struggle for the throne, Horus versus Seth. Threatened by Seth, Isis had to flee. In secret, she gave birth to her son Horus and raised him far from danger. She waited patiently until Horus was strong enough to face his uncle. When he came of age, he challenged Seth to a battle for the rightful throne of Egypt. The conflict between Horus and Seth was violent and bitter. It was not just about power, but about the restoration of divine order. Ultimately, the dispute was decided not by strength alone, but by a divine judicial process. The gods gathered for a tribunal to determine who the rightful ruler was. The proceedings were presided over by Geb, the god of the earth. After hearing all arguments, the judgment was rendered in favor of Horus. He was recognized as the legitimate king of Egypt and ascended the throne that had once belonged to his father. From that moment on, every pharaoh was considered the embodiment of Horus during life and Osiris after death. It was divine lineage that granted the rulers of Egypt their right to the crown. But while Horus ruled on earth, another god began to gain importance in the background, a god known as the Hidden One. Part 3, Amun-Ra, the hidden king of the gods. Among the many deities of Egypt, Amun held a special position. He was called the Hidden One, and was considered the invisible force behind everything in existence, even behind creation itself. Unlike other gods who were associated with a specific realm, like the sky, earth, or sun, Amun had a universal nature. His power extended over the entire cosmic framework. Over the course of Egyptian history, his importance grew steadily. In the process, he adopted the characteristics and functions of other deities. The most significant of these mergers was with the sun god Ra. From this union, Amun-Ra emerged, a deity who combined both the hidden creative power and the visible power of the sun. In this form, Amun-Ra rose to become the supreme god of Egypt, the king of the gods. His worship became so comprehensive that at times he was viewed almost as the only god, while other deities were seen merely as aspects of his immense power. But while Amun-Ra ruled the heavens, Osiris remained one of the most revered deities in the realm of the dead. His fate shaped the hopes of all Egyptians for life after death. Part 4, the Judgment of Osiris, Hope for Immortality. Osiris, ruler of the Duat and judge of the dead, was one of the most venerable deities of ancient Egypt. His death and resurrection gave people hope of attaining immortality themselves. If even a god could overcome death, was it not also possible for humans? Out of this belief, the elaborate tombs and burial rituals for which Egypt is still known today were developed. It was believed that after death, the soul had to undertake a dangerous journey through the underworld. Pharaohs and wealthy nobles could afford richly equipped tombs filled with amulets, offerings, and spells to help them on their way. But even an ordinary person had the chance to reach the afterlife, provided their heart was pure. The soul eventually reached the hall of Ma'at, the goddess of truth. There, it stood before 42 judges and confessed its innocence regarding specific transgressions. Subsequently, the heart of the deceased was placed on a scale by Anubis. On the other side lay the feather of truth. Thoth stood by and recorded the result. If the heart was lighter than or in balance with the feather, the soul was permitted to proceed before Osiris, who decided on its entry into the afterlife. If it was heavier, however, the monster Amit appeared and devoured the heart. The soul was extinguished, as if it had never existed. But while Osiris judged the dead, Isis continued to work with immense power among the living. Part 5. Isis, Horus, and Seth. Order against chaos. Isis was the most significant and perhaps also the most beloved goddess of Egypt. Her veneration was so strong that she almost outshone that of her husband Osiris. As the mother of Horus, the god of kingship, she was also considered the mother of every pharaoh. Every ruler stood under her protection, and it was believed that her power preserved the entire realm. Her healing and protective magic, in particular, made her exceptionally popular among the people. She was invoked to alleviate illness and ward off danger. Her magical abilities were so great that she even dared to challenge the mighty sun god Ra. She created a serpent that bit Ra and only healed him after he revealed his true name to her, which caused her power to grow even further. Her son Horus occupied a central position in the pantheon as the god of kingship. During life, every pharaoh embodied Horus. After death, he became Osiris. Horus was also considered the lord of the sky. He was imagined as a massive falcon, whose right eye was the sun and whose left eye was the moon. The winds were created by the beating of his wings. Seth, on the other hand, embodied chaos, destruction, and turmoil. As the god of the desert, the Red Land, he threatened the fertile order necessary for life. He stood for violence, disease, civil war, and foreign invasions. And yet, his role was not exclusively negative. Every night, he accompanied Ra on his journey through the underworld. When the giant serpent Apophis appeared and threatened to paralyze even the gods, it was Seth who repelled it with his spear. Thus, it was shown that even chaos had a place in the divine balance. Part 6. Ra and the Eternal Solar Cycle. Among all the deities, the sun gods occupied a prominent position. At the center was Ra, whose body itself was thought of as the sun. It was believed that humanity had arisen from his tears that fell to the earth. Ra created kingship and ruled as the first king over the world until he became old and tired. Finally, he left the earth and was lifted into the sky on the back of the sky goddess Nut, where he henceforth ruled as the king of the gods. However, the sun did not appear in only one single form. Khepri, the scarab god, embodied the morning sun, which he rolled over the horizon like a ball. Ra himself represented the midday sun, which traveled across the sky in his solar bark from sunrise to sunset, accompanied by other deities. Atum finally was considered the evening sun, when the light sank below the horizon. After sunset, Ra's nightly journey through the underworld began. In his night bark, he again faced his arch-enemy, the massive serpent Apophis. With the help of the gods accompanying him, Ra was renewed on this journey and reborn at sunrise, day after day, in an eternal cycle. But not only Ra himself showed his power in different forms. Several goddesses were considered his eyes, embodiments of his destructive and protective power. Part 7. The Eyes of Ra and the Guardians of Knowledge and Death. As a visible expression of his power, several goddesses appeared as the Eyes of Ra. These deities were among the strongest in the entire pantheon and crushed the enemies of the sun god with relentless force. Because of their fierce nature, they were often depicted as lionesses. The most significant among them was Sekhmet, the daughter of Ra. It was said that she spat fire in battle, and the hot desert winds were considered her breath. When Ra became old and weak at the end of his reign on earth and the people rose up against him, he sent Sekhmet out to punish them. Her wrath was so immense that she nearly wiped out all of humanity. Not all eyes of Ra, however, were characterized by such ferocity. Bastet also began as a lioness goddess, but transformed into a cat goddess after the Middle Kingdom, once her destructive aspects were tempered. Nevertheless, she also fought alongside Ra against Apophis and simultaneously protected women during pregnancy as well as the pharaoh himself. Some of these goddesses appeared in the form of a cow, a symbol of fertility and motherhood. Hathor was the goddess of women, motherhood, and female sexuality. She watched over conception and birth and was sometimes depicted as the mother or consort of Horus. Therefore, the pharaoh was also called the son of Hathor, while queens were associated with her. After death, many women sought to become one with Hathor, just as men did with Osiris. Neith was also depicted as a cow in some traditions. Sometimes it was even said that she existed before creation itself and had brought forth both Ra and his enemy Apophis, as well as humanity. As the mother of the crocodile god Sobek, she was considered the protector of all crocodiles in Egypt. At the same time, she was a warlike goddess and a master archer, which is why the Greeks equated her with their own war goddess, Athena. Alongside these powerful goddesses, Ptah also played a central role. As the patron god of craftsmen and patron of the city of Memphis, the first capital of Egypt, after unification around 3000 BC, he was considered the actual creator of the world there. It was believed that he had brought forth creation through thought and the spoken word, and shaped the earth on his potter's wheel. Arts and crafts originated from him, and he shared these skills with humanity. Anubis, the god of embalming, watched over burials and ensured that souls found their way to the afterlife. It was he who wrapped the body of Osiris, thereby creating the first mummy. Priests believed they were under his protection when they prepared the dead for burial. After weighing the heart of the deceased against the feather of truth, he led the worthy soul to Osiris for final judgment. Thoth, finally, was the god of writing, knowledge, and balance. It was said that he was born from the forehead of Seth. As a lunar god, he healed the injured eye of Horus and invented the art of writing. He became the scribe of the gods, recorded divine words, and documented time, as well as the regnal years of the pharaohs. During the weighing of the soul, he stood beside Anubis and recorded the verdict. His consort Seshat was also a goddess of writing and keeper of the libraries. Thus, the web of Egyptian gods stretched across heaven, earth, and the underworld, a complex structure of order and chaos, life and death, destruction and rebirth.